The text message came through while I was helping a customer choose flowers for her anniversary. 35 white roses, baby's breath, and eucalyptus branches. A classic arrangement for a couple celebrating 20 years together. My phone buzzed. I glanced down at the screen. "I'm leaving you, old woman. Flying to Miami tomorrow with my assistant. Drained the joint account. Don't be mad. LOL." My hands didn't shake. My smile didn't falter. I finished wrapping the bouquet in cream-colored paper, tied it with silk ribbon, and handed it to my customer with the same warmth I always showed. "Happy anniversary," I told her. 20 years is beautiful." She left with her flowers, and I stood alone in my shop, reading that message again. My husband, Marcus, had just announced he was running off with a 20-year-old girl from his office. He thought he'd drained our savings. He thought he'd left me broke and desperate. He had no idea I'd been 3 steps ahead of him for months. What happened next taught him a very expensive lesson about underestimating the woman who built an empire while he was drinking beer on the couch. My name is Isabella, and I'm 39 years old. I own the Bloom Branch, a high-end floral studio that sits right across from the old community clinic near the bus stop. From the outside, it looks simple enough, deep navy panels and a gold script sign, but that business brings in serious money, especially during wedding season. I started with nothing, a folding table, buckets of chrysanthemums from the wholesale market, a dream inherited from my grandfather who grew prize-winning peonies and dahlias in his garden in North Carolina. He taught me that beauty requires patience, that roots grow deep before flowers bloom, that you can't rush nature, but you can prepare the soil. I applied those lessons to business. 12 years later, I have corporate accounts, high-end wedding contracts, and a dedicated team. I've done installations for mayors, celebrities, and Fortune 500 companies. Last year alone, I cleared $300,000 in revenue. My husband, Marcus, he's a procurement manager, making $70,000 a year, and he thinks I run a flower stall. We've been married for 12 years. For the first few, things were good. We painted the walls of my brownstone together, the house my grandfather left me in his will. We planned a future, we talked about kids someday. Then something shifted. About 6 months ago, Marcus started changing. New clothes, expensive cologne, gym membership he actually used. His phone became private property. He started speaking in weird motivational catchphrases he clearly got from social media. Living my best life, manifesting abundance, age is just a number. And our savings started disappearing. I'm not naive. I've been married for 12 years to a man who suddenly started acting like a 25-year-old influencer. I knew exactly what was happening. So 3 months ago, I made a decision. I opened a private bank account and quietly transferred everything I'd saved over the years, every penny from my business, every dollar I'd earned. I left just enough in our joint account to keep Marcus from getting suspicious, a decoy, a distraction. While he was busy draining what he thought was our life savings, I was busy protecting my actual assets. I also started documenting everything, screenshots of his messages, photos of suspicious receipts, bank statements showing unexplained withdrawals. I created a folder on my computer labeled "For the Lawyer" and filled it with evidence, because I knew this day was coming. I first met her at Marcus's holiday party last winter. Her name was Amani. She was 20 years old, an executive assistant who wore dresses 2 sizes too small and had lips that looked freshly plumped at a discount clinic. She giggled constantly. She touched Marcus's arm when she talked. She called him Mr. G in a baby voice that made my teeth hurt. I watched them that night from across the room, the way she leaned into him, the way he smiled at her, a smile I hadn't seen in years, the way they thought they were being subtle. I went home that night and opened a bottle of wine. I didn't confront Marcus. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and started preparing. I called my friend Zara, who's been my attorney since 9th grade. We grew up together in the same neighborhood, went to the same schools, survived the same struggles. Now she's one of the most feared divorce lawyers in the city. I think Marcus is cheating, I told her, and I think he's going to try to take everything. Then we make sure he can't, she replied. Start documenting everything, every text, every receipt, every suspicious charge, and transfer your assets immediately. We're going to war. Over the next 3 months, I became a detective in my own marriage. I checked credit card statements and found charges at expensive restaurants I'd never been to, hotel rooms I'd never slept in, jewelry I'd never received. Marcus was spending our money on Imani, and he wasn't even trying to hide it. His phone was locked now, but I'd seen enough. Text message notifications that flashed across the screen when he showered. Can't wait to see you tonight, baby. You make me feel young again. She'll never understand me like you do. That last one made me laugh. She'll never understand him? I'd spent 12 years understanding him. Understanding that he preferred his eggs over medium, that he hated surprises, that his mother called every Sunday at exactly 3 o'clock, that he snored when he slept on his back. I understood him perfectly. I understood that he was selfish, weak, and stupid enough to throw away a stable life for a 20-year-old who couldn't spell definitely correctly. The messages from Marcus kept coming after that first text. It'll probably be hard for you without me. You're not exactly a spring chicken anymore. A spring chicken? I'm 39 years old, in the best shape of my life, running a successful business. But to Marcus, I was old. At least you have your little flower stall to keep you busy. You won't get too lonely. A flower stall, my business that brought in more revenue than his salary ever could. The business I'd built with my own hands, while he complained that I worked too much. I took screenshots of every message, added them to my growing evidence folder, and I smiled, because Marcus had no idea what was coming. That night, I stayed in my brownstone, the house that belonged to me, the house my grandfather left me in his will, long before Marcus came into my life. Marcus had tried many times over the years to convince me to add his name to the deed. Just in case something happens, he'd say, we're married, we should share everything. Every time I'd laugh it off. The paperwork is too complicated, I'd say. Maybe next year. Thank God for my intuition. I sat at my kitchen table with a glass of wine and looked through our old wedding photos. Marcus looked different back then. Younger, sure, but also genuine. He had a kind smile, warm eyes. He looked like a man who wanted to build something real. Now he looked ridiculous. Skinny jeans on a 40-year-old body, tight sweaters that showed every middle-aged bulge, designer sneakers that cost $300, an expensive cologne that smelled like he was trying too hard. He'd become a caricature of a midlife crisis. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Marcus. I've thought it through. Imani understands me like no one else. You don't, but you'll manage. Maybe you'll find someone your own age. Screenshot. Save. File. I already told my family. They support me. You have to understand, Isabella. We grew apart a long time ago. Screenshot. Save. File. I don't attract you as a woman anymore. It's a natural process. Women age. Men get better with time. That one actually made me laugh out loud. Marcus was balding, developing a beer gut despite his gym membership, and had back pain that made him groan every time he stood up. But sure, he was getting better with time. Screenshot. Save. File. My cat, a temperamental little Persian named Luna, jumped onto my lap and started purring. Marcus had always hated Luna, said she shed too much, smelled bad, took up too much space. A man who can't love an animal is rarely capable of truly loving anyone. Another red flag I'd ignored. Then came the message that sealed Marcus's fate. By the way, I used your card to book the flights and the luxury hotel suite at the Admiral Palms Resort. Consider it your parting gift to me. LOL. He'd charged our tickets to Miami and a luxury hotel suite to my personal credit card, without asking, without permission. He'd literally stolen from me to fund his escape with his mistress. I immediately called my bank's fraud department. "I need to report unauthorized charges on my card," I said calmly. "2 business-class tickets to Miami and a 3-night reservation at a luxury resort." "Did you authorize these charges, ma'am?" "No. I have written messages from the individual admitting he took the funds without consent." The operator's satisfaction was clear. "We'll reverse the charges immediately and flag his information in our system for unauthorized activity." I hung up and poured another glass of wine. While Imani was posting Instagram stories with captions like "trip of a lifetime with my king" and heart emojis everywhere, I was adding those posts to my evidence file. The court was going to love those posts. I called Zara. "The time has come. Let's file." "Perfect," she said. "I'll submit the paperwork tomorrow morning. Should I have him served at the resort?" "No," I said. "Let him think he's in control a little longer. I want to see how long he can survive in his fantasy world." That night, I'd barely slept. Not because I was heartbroken, because I was energized. For the first time in months, I felt powerful, in control, ready. Marcus thought he'd destroyed me. He had no idea I'd been building armor while he was building castles in the sand. The next morning, I was at the Bloom Branch early, preparing for a huge wedding installation. Peonies, roses, eucalyptus, $3,000 worth of flowers for a ceremony at the Botanical Gardens. My phone started buzzing around 10 o'clock. "What the hell did you do? The tickets are void. The hotel canceled the reservation. None of my cards are working." I turned my phone off and kept working. Friday was my busiest day. Life goes on even when your husband runs off to Florida with his secretary. By noon, my phone was ringing. Mrs. Greer, Marcus's mother. My heart sank. If she was calling, Marcus had already started crying to Mommy. "Isabella, baby, can you tell me what's going on? Marcus is a mess. He's been screaming all morning. He says you ruined his whole trip. I don't understand." I put the phone on speaker and kept arranging flowers. "Did he mention that he drained our joint savings and used my personal credit card to pay for a vacation with his new girlfriend? Or did he leave that part out?" Silence. "Well," Mrs. Greer said slowly, "he said you were always putting him down, that everything in the house had to be your way, that you treated him like a child." "Mrs. Greer, I have every single message he sent me saved. Messages where he brags about stealing money, where he insults my age, where he calls my business a stall. I can send them to you if you want." Another long pause. "No, baby, I don't need to see them. I already told him he was out of line. But you have to understand, I'm caught in the middle. He's my son." "I appreciate you calling, but my lawyer advised me to limit contact with his family while we prepare for court." "I understand. Take care of yourself, Isabella." I hung up and turned my phone to silent. By evening, word had spread through our friend group. According to mutual friends, Marcus and Imani were stuck at a budget motel near the airport, the kind that smells like stale cigarettes and has stains on the carpet. The luxury resort was canceled, the flights were gone, and Marcus's personal credit cards were all maxed out. I'd known this would happen. For months, Marcus had been secretly taking out personal loans to keep up appearances, to buy expensive clothes, to take Imani to fancy restaurants, to maintain the illusion that he was successful. Now reality was catching up. Zara called. "Emergency hearing is set for Monday. We have everything. The admission of misappropriating funds, the unauthorized credit card use, the property deeds proving the house and business are yours. We're moving to freeze his assets." "Does he know?" "Not yet. He'll be served tomorrow morning at that motel." I leaned back in my chair. Luna rubbed against my leg and purred. The house was quiet and peaceful. For the first time in years, that peace felt earned. Monday was overcast and gray, which felt fitting for what was about to happen. The emergency hearing was in family court. I walked in wearing a tailored navy suit and minimal makeup. Beside me was Zara, carrying a thick file of evidence. Marcus was already there, wearing skinny jeans and a bright blue blazer that looked absurd in a courtroom. His face was puffy, his eyes darting around nervously. In the hallway, Imani was waiting. In the harsh courthouse lighting, her youth didn't look like an advantage anymore. It looked like foolishness. She was just a girl playing dress-up, and any comparison between us was laughable. The judge was a woman in her late 50s. She opened the session right on time. Case of Isabella Hilliard versus Marcus Greer, subject determination of property rights and preliminary asset protection. Zara spoke first. Your Honor, you have before you complete evidence, written admission of intentional withdrawal of joint funds, unauthorized use of the petitioner's personal credit card, documented transfers to third parties, and a series of disparaging messages intended to discredit my client. We ask for an immediate freeze on all disputed accounts and assets. Marcus's lawyer, a young guy who looked fresh out of law school, stammered through his response. Your Honor, my client admits he acted impulsively, but the petitioner's reaction is purely out of spite. This was all pre-planned. Zara cut him off. You call it pre-planned when a person protects their legal property? My client has owned her business as a sole proprietorship since before the marriage. All income goes into separate accounts. The residence she lives in was an inheritance. Marcus Greer has no legal claim to these assets, and we have documentation to prove it. The judge looked at Marcus over her glasses. Mr. Greer, do you admit to spending joint marital funds on a trip with another woman? I was trying to get out of a toxic relationship without a scene. By using financial manipulation? The judge asked calmly. And now you're claiming rights to a business that, according to these records, was and remains the personal property of your wife. Marcus's lawyer tried to interject. The business grew during the marriage, so a portion should be allocated to my client. Zara shut him down immediately. The business was registered before the marriage and operated as a separate entity. Under state law, property acquired before marriage remains separate property. Marcus Greer never invested a single cent into the business, and we can prove that easily. Marcus turned red, trying to say something, but the judge was already reading her notes. The petitioner's claims are backed by documentation. There is clear evidence of misappropriation of marital funds. All disputed assets are hereby frozen. Mr. Greer is ordered to return the funds taken from the joint account within 30 days. Failure to comply will result in a judgment lien. But that money is gone, Marcus shouted. We spent it. Then find a way to pay it back, the judge said flatly. And please stop saying we. You committed these violations personally. This session is adjourned. I didn't rush to leave. I watched as Marcus fumbled with his jacket, looking lost and confused. In the hallway, Imani rushed up to him. I don't understand, babe. What about the trip? You said you'd handle everything. Things happened, Imani. I didn't know she had this planned. But you said you're the man. You said you had everything under control. I walked past them without stopping, but I heard Marcus yell after me. You're going to regret this. I have a right to half. I turned around. My voice was cold and clear. Your rights ended the moment you decided to fund your little romance on my dime. Zara caught up with me at the stairs. How did I look today? I smiled. Incredible. You're the best. Forget about it. This is what I do. And besides, you've helped me out 100 times. Consider the debt settled. The second hearing was 2 weeks later. Marcus had fallen apart in that time. I could tell just by looking at him. Bags under his eyes, wrinkled shirt, a glazed look that told me he'd been drinking. His mother hissed at him as they entered the courthouse. Let me smell your breath. Mom, don't start. Don't start. Boy, you're falling apart again. The proceedings were quick. The judge reviewed all the evidence, including the Instagram posts from Imani bragging about their dream life together. Mr. Greer, the judge said, you have failed to return the funds as ordered. The court is issuing a judgment lien against you for the full amount of $32,000, plus interest and court costs. Additionally, the petitioner is awarded sole ownership of the marital residence and the business known as the Bloom Branch. You have 30 days to vacate the property. Marcus's face went white. But where am I supposed to go? That's not the court's concern, the judge replied. You should have considered that before misappropriating marital funds. This case is closed. Outside the courthouse, Imani was crying. This isn't what you promised. You said we'd have a life together. You said you had money. I thought I did, Marcus said weakly. I can't do this anymore, she said, mascara running down her face. My parents were right. You're just a broke old man having a midlife crisis. I'm done. She walked away, her high heels clicking on the pavement. Marcus stood there alone, watching her go. Then he turned to me. Are you happy now? He asked. You destroyed everything. No, Marcus, I said calmly. You destroyed everything. I just made sure you didn't take me down with you. 3 months later, Marcus moved out of the brownstone. He took his clothes, his ridiculous sneakers, and his shattered ego to a studio apartment across town. Imani had moved on to some other older guy with a bigger bank account. I saw her Instagram post announcing her new love, a 50-year-old real estate developer. She'd learned nothing. Marcus tried to appeal the judgment, but his lawyer advised him to drop it. He couldn't afford to fight anymore. The legal fees had already destroyed him. I kept the house. I kept the business. I kept my dignity. The Bloom Branch is thriving. Last month, I landed a contract with the city's biggest hotel chain for all their event florals, 6 figures annually, guaranteed for 3 years. Luna is happier now that Marcus is gone. She sprawls across the bed without anyone complaining about cat hair. She eats from her bowl without anyone forgetting to feed her. And me? I'm happier too. I'm 39 years old, single, successful, and free. I wake up every morning in my beautiful brownstone that my grandfather left me. I go to work in the business I built with my own hands. I come home to a cat who loves me unconditionally. Marcus messages me sometimes, apologizing, begging for another chance, saying he made a mistake. I never respond, because here's what I learned. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. When someone calls your life's work a stall, they don't respect you. When someone drains your bank account to run off with a 20-year-old, they don't love you. And when someone underestimates you, let them. Let them think you're just a woman with a flower shop. Let them think you're too old, too soft, too trusting. Let them make their plans and drain their accounts and book their trips. Because when you've been 3 steps ahead the whole time, watching them works is the sweetest revenge of all. Marcus thought he was so clever. He thought he drained our savings and left me broke. He thought I'd be devastated, crying, begging him to come back. He had no idea I'd moved every penny months before. He had no idea I documented everything. He had no idea that the flower stall he mocked brought in more money than he'd ever see. He underestimated me, and it cost him everything. If you're watching this and you see yourself in my story, here's my advice. Protect yourself. Open your own accounts. Document everything. Build your own empire. Never depend on someone who doesn't respect you. And if someone calls your business a stall, if they mock your age, if they drain your account to run off with someone young enough to be their daughter, let them go. And make sure they leave with nothing but regrets. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I want to know how far this story of justice has traveled.